Hello, everybody. Jonathan Pulley here with West Coast Weather. Today is October 28th, and right now we're looking at the current satellite imagery of the Northeast Pacific Ocean, or the Northern Pacific Ocean in general. Here's Hawaii down here, the west coast of the United States down here. You can see we got a pretty strong cyclone with about a pressure of about 968 millibars, so a very deep low. Thankfully, that's going up the Haida and not coming straight into the Pacific Northwest, or that would be a major windstorm situation. However, we still got a cold front that's approaching the coast right now, bringing some rain and some blustery conditions to mostly the northwest interior, but will bring some breeziness to the parts of the Puget Sound and southwest BC, especially along Vancouver Island as well. And then we got multiple other systems coming in with active weather continuing into the next couple of weeks as we head into our most active time of the year, the month of November. So let's get into things. Looking at the 500 millibar height anomaly, this is basically looking at troughs and ridges of low and high pressure way up in the atmosphere. Gives us kind of a good idea of what's coming our way. So looking right now, we can see our big cyclone off of Haida up there off of the BC coastline. Right now, that's going to weaken and spin off into British Columbia itself, with the frontal system impacting us moving through later tonight into Wednesday morning. We get a bit of a break late Wednesday into Thursday, and then in the Friday morning as a ridge of high pressure builds in, but that will not last long as an even more powerful cyclone. But even farther away, we'll move up into the northern Gulf of Alaska, impacting Alaska. This will set up an atmospheric river that will float into the Pacific Northwest. It's going to be a moderate to strong atmospheric river, nothing too crazy, but you can see it's setting up where the high and low pressure kind of meet, and that's where you get all that moisture flowing in through the two different weather systems. So as we play this through, that atmospheric river kind of sits over us on Friday through Saturday, kind of dissipates by Sunday. We got a bit of a ridge, and then potential for more systems after that. And I'll start to disagree after Sunday, but it looks to remain somewhat active after this weekend as well. So let's look at the Gulf of Alaska. Here's that big cyclone that we just saw on satellite, right around 967, 968 millibars. Pretty strong cyclone, tightly wound. Let's see what the winds are like near the center. This thing probably has had some wind gusts up towards 90 to 100 miles per hour out there. Some 80s along the coast of Haida and northern Vancouver Island, which are decently typical for them. They usually get that a couple times a year, but this is a pretty a strong cyclone for this early in the year. That weekends and dies off, and then you can see our next big cyclone. This thing's going to be down into the low 950 millibar range, which is very low this time of the year. But it will also be way far north up into northern Alaska. So Alaska's going to get some major impacts from that. Maybe another storm system moving in the Haida along our atmospheric river later on Friday and the Saturday. We'll get blustery conditions with this atmospheric river, some heavy rainfall for some locations. And after that, the European model is even showing a bit of a windstorm scenario early next week. But it's the only model showing that at this point. So there's not much confidence in that happening. So now let's look at the 6-hour precipitation over the next few days. So every time I click this is about 6 hours of total precipitation. So this is showing that there's going to be about 1.65 inches of precipitation up here in parts of northern Vancouver Island during the last 6 hours. So you can see the frontal system moves through this evening, bringing rain and showers to the area. You can see a bit of a convergence zone starts let me go back here. You can see a little bit of a convergence zone that starts developing over Whidbey Island, parts of the northern Puget Sound, into early Wednesday morning, as maybe some westerly winds. Some showers may continue with that all the way through the middle of the day on Wednesday. We got a break in the weather before our atmospheric river comes in later Friday afternoon. Blustery winds are going to be picking up across parts of the northwest interior along the coastlines, even on Friday morning as well. That kind of pushes through and lasts all the way through Saturday afternoon before dying off. Maybe a few scattered showers continuing the Sunday morning. Then the European model brings that stronger storm system that would bring a windstorm and more rain and maybe thunderstorm chances on Monday. However, if I switch to the GFS model, look at this. It brings that storm as like a weakening low up towards northern Vancouver Island. It still brings maybe another atmospheric river through the region, but still wouldn't be as impactful as the European model. So we'll just watch that as we go. We still got plenty of time to watch that. Now let's look at the atmospheric river stuff. This is on the atmospheric river scale and forecast products page on the Center for Western Weather and Water Extremes website. So you can see over the past 7 days, we've had some weak to moderate atmospheric river activity, nothing too crazy. You can see the forecast for the next 7 days shows a category 3 atmospheric river moving through parts of northern northwest Oregon and western Washington and southwest BC. You can see categories of atmospheric rivers have been a thing since about a couple decades ago. It's based off how much moisture content there is in the atmosphere and how long they last. So our atmospheric river has about 750 IVT units, integrated vapor transport units, and it lasts for about 24 to 30 hours. So it counts as a strong category 3 atmospheric river, borderline on moderate. So there's some atmospheric 101 for you guys. Now looking at the total precipitation on the European Mall ensemble through Sunday, this gives us a good idea of what the general totals are looking like. You can see Eastern Washington even is getting on the action with maybe 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch in some higher elevation spots in Eastern Washington, the Columbia Basin a bit lighter, but you can see the mountains of Southwest BC and Western Washington and parts of Western Oregon are going to be getting several inches of rainfall, maybe even the isolated totals above 5 inches for parts of the North Cascades, the Olympic Mountains, and the coast ranges of Vancouver Island and Southwest BC as well. You can see maybe up to 1.5 inches, maybe closing in on 2 inches for Seattle. Maybe up towards 1 inch of rain for Portland as well. Southwest Washington and the coastlines getting up towards 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rainfall as well. So definitely some pretty wet weather with maybe a couple of dry periods in between for this coming week. Let's look at a surface wind gust. You can see this is about right now. You can see winds are starting to get blustery over parts of Whidbey Island. I'll show you here the current wind speeds that are happening right now. You can see wind speeds pick up through that late afternoon, maybe some gusts approaching 50 for the Strait and stuff, and maybe 40, 45, maybe trying to encroach on 50 miles per hour for parts of northern Whidbey and the San Juans, but this is pretty typical, a pretty typical moderate frontal system moving through, and then everything dies down as we go into the overnight hours. As we play this through, we kind of continue the calm weather until Friday morning when gusts start picking up towards 40 miles per hour for parts of Whidbey Island, the San Juans, and maybe the northeast Olympic Peninsula up around Port Townsend and just east of Sequim. You can see even some pretty gusty winds as these frontal systems typically bring the parts of eastern Vancouver Island and the western Vancouver Island coastline and the Washington coastlines. Maybe some gusts starting to pick up towards 50 miles per hour for parts of Whidbey Island. This is going to be a pretty prolonged period of wind for the northwest interior, especially and along the coastlines, as we get winds basically from Friday morning all the way through Saturday morning as well. So it's good solid almost 24 hours of gusts of 40 to 50 miles per hour for some of these locations. Bellingham likely to get in on the action as well. The Puget Sound remaining just blustery at best, with maybe some gusty winds along the Oregon coastline as well, and some of the Willamette Valley, but nothing to write home about down there. Now, just for fantasy, let's look at that storm the European Mall was showing on the day on Monday next week. So let's look at the total wind gusts during that system. Wow. You can see this would bring a gust 60 to 70 miles per hour for parts of the northwest interior, maybe in parts of the Puget Sound with gusts 50 to 60 miles per hour. You can see up towards 100 miles per hour in Hurricane Ridge. It would be really living up to its name if that happens. You can see some gusts over 70 miles per hour, maybe isolated 75 to 80 miles per hour along the coastlines as well. And you can see the system as it's offshore bringing some gusts over 110 miles per hour out there. So that would be a blustery system to say the least, but it's pretty unlikely to happen at this point. It's just something to watch and keep in the back of our heads until models start getting better agreement on the situation. Now looking at current wind speeds, the red numbers are wind gusts, and then the temperature is in those black numbers. So we're getting gusts up to 41 miles per hour recorded about an hour before this video I'm recording right now will be uploaded. Gusting the 40 off Smith Island, the Strait on the Fuca. You can see hardly anything down here in the Seattle area. It kind of starts getting a breezy up by Mukilteo and Everett. You can see not super blustery. There's actually some northeast winds coming out of the Fraser River Valley as that front approaches. And you can see maybe a little bit breezy Friday over. So northern Whidbey Island and parts of the northeast Olympic Peninsula are getting the strongest winds with gusting the 45 miles per hour just to the east of Sequim. So now looking at temperatures, generally nothing too crazy over the next week. We may get some warmer weather on Saturday as the atmospheric river moves through, bringing in that warmer subtropical air. But that's going to be quick to move out, with mostly highs over the next week being in the 50s for most of the region, some 60s out east on Saturday as that front moves through. Total snow over the next week or until about Sunday evening. You can see a bit of snow for parts of the Washington Cascades, maybe a little bit for the passes during a couple of days, but nothing crazy or anything to write home about. However, the coast ranges of British Columbia are going to get pretty hefty snow amounts, with over a few feet of snow expected during this time frame, over 100 centimeters in some higher mountainous locations. Whistler is probably going to be getting in on the action as well, so that's nice to see. Looking at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook by the Climate Prediction Center, you can see above average temperatures expected from November 3rd through the 7th, as we get those warmer Pacific systems moving in with periods of ridging, high pressure systems inland as well. Not surprising, above average precipitation expected, as well as we get all those frontal systems moving, and pretty much the same thing for the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, November 5th through 11th. There's a bit more disagreement in the models during this time frame, but generally still looking like we're going to continue our classic late October, early November storm system action, with maybe an isolated chance of some stronger storms during this period as well. So I hope everybody found this video enjoyable and informative. Please just hit the like button, subscribe buttons down below. It helps the channel out and show YouTube that more people want to watch this. I'm really getting close to getting monetized here on YouTube, and I really want to be able to make that happen here in the next few weeks. So anyways, thank you everyone for watching, and I'll talk to everybody in the next forecast video.